Hello everyone, I'm Pragati Sureka and welcome to my podcast. So, how have you been feeling today? Good, bad, or just bored with life? However you are feeling, when you live in society, we are amongst human beings. And a very important aspect of living with human beings is communication. What is the message that we want to send across to them? What is it that we are receiving from them? So when we talk about communication, one thing is very, very important. We need to remember communication is more about how we relate to others than a language skill. It is a language process. However, when we struggle with our communication, a good viewpoint to have is look at it as a people's process. So let's see some ways in which we can make some basic improvements so that we are able to communicate better in our interpersonal relationships. People we live with, whether it's family members, whether it is our neighbors or members of the society that we belong to, some community engagements like Rotary, Lions Club, or anything that resonates with me, they all form the backdrop of interpersonal relationships. Work zone is another zone where, while it is not personal, how we communicate with our peers, our seniors, or even our juniors goes a long way in getting us the desired results. So one way in which we can actually alter by the way we are communicating is the degree of defensiveness. Now, what is this defensiveness that I'm talking about? So defensiveness is any kind of perceived threat that a person feels. Think of the time when you were a young child and you were out to play a game. You knew your mother had asked you to return home by 10 p.m. and yet while you were so lost playing, you forgot the time. So what is it that you do? You perceive a threat, some angry retort. So what do you say? You bristle and you say, oh, the traffic was bad, it got late, or something or the other. So instead of getting the desired result, maybe where you were late for a meal or something else which needed to be done together as a family could not be done. Perhaps you had homework to finish. That gets lost because the energy goes in defending own self. Now that childhood example you may think is so juvenile, and why am I talking about it to you as adults? The reason why I'm talking about it is as children, we develop a full blueprint of how we are going to interact as adults. Some patterns that we learned as children tend to carry on if we do not work on them, in this case, to reduce the degree of defensiveness when we are challenged or somebody puts forward a view of point that makes us uncomfortable. So, take a minute and think about it. When you are communicating with another, how is it that you talk? Is it that you are trying to escape punishment? Is it that you are trying to form an opinion? Are you trying to dominate? Or is it that you are just trying to avoid a perceived attack that will come your way? While we introspect like this and give some thoughts to our inner feelings, what happens is we realize where is it that we are anchored when we are communicating with others. Many of us feel that when we are communicating in our personal sphere, we are different. In our professional sphere, we are different. And with regular people, there's hardly much thought to our behavior. Perhaps it works, but how I look at it, that the more prepared I am, the more mindful I am when I'm communicating, there is less defensive behavior I engage in. I don't perceive threats when they are unintended, and even if they are intended, I develop the skill of detachment, or soothing ruffled feathers. So when you're communicating, ask yourself, is it that when you talk, people feel judged, or people feel as though you are trying to throw your weight around? Because what happens is whenever a person feels evaluated, it increases their defensiveness. If there is something in your manner of speech, tone of voice, or the pitch, you're too shrill, or the look that you are giving, the receiver goes on absolute tenterhooks. The person thinks that there is a perceived threat coming their way, and dependent on the equation you have with the other, they clamor. Either they keep quiet, or you get an angry retort, or there is no open and spontaneous communication. So, whatever you wanted to say gets neutralized, and perhaps the message that you wanted to give to the other is lost. So we need to understand that how is it that our attitude is when we are talking to another. Even while evaluating, if we need to really evaluate someone's performance, we can perhaps watch our body language, our tone of voice, and our general demeanor so that the person is not defensive and communicates well with us. Now, think about it. If something big happens and you hear, "Where are you?" what is it that you get as a response? "Oh, I'm right here, mom. I didn't do it. I'm something who